Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Go to Hell with Erica and Kelly. This is Erica here, and Kelly, hello, how are you?
Hi, Erica. Hello to all of our listeners. It is I, Kelly, and I'm
How are
doing
you
well.
doing? Good, perfect. And today we have our guest, Janet. Janet, hi,
Hi.
how are you
Hello. How
doing?
doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. So I
Awesome.
want to do quick intro so people can know who you are, Janet. I feel like I
Okay.
actually as we were jumping on and counting down to the recording, I was like, I should have written out an intro because there's so many things I know about you, Janet, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna sum this up into like a 10-second thing. But basically, I'm gonna say to everyone what I told Kelly is Janet is the coolest person I know,
Oh gosh.
coolest person on the planet. Just gonna throw
You
that
must
out
not know
there.
very many
I'm just
people.
gonna. It's true. My social circles are embarrassing, but but yeah, we're gonna leave that there, as cringe as that is. And I know Janet because when I was 23, I moved out to California with nothing but a dream and and an internship. And I met Janet shortly after, and she's the reason why I actually was able to grow and not lose my mind out there. And
Aw.
yeah, we became close, and you're just a great mentor, and you're a great friend. And
Aw.
yeah, being out in California, it's like very, I don't know, I think I would have lost my mind a little bit without you, which is the truth. And
Aw, you're so
so,
kind.
yeah, I'm excited that you're here and you agreed to come on and share your story because I know bits and pieces, kind of,
Probably not. Yeah, I was gonna say
but really
probably not a whole lot though.
not a whole lot. Because I think,
Yeah.
unfortunately, when we would hang out and get coffee, it was just me talking about all my problems. But now I finally get to do some listening for once. Now that I've grown up a little bit, so yeah. But so for Go to Hell, you already know this, but we are just really on a mission to collect stories of people's testimonies
I
and
love it.
just like what has God done in your life where he's really shown up in big ways and shown his compassion and his mercy, and what in your life has he really stepped in and just sent back to hell where it
Yeah.
belongs. So we get to hear your Go to Hell story today, and I'm pumped for that, and I know Kelly is
Awesome.
too. But before we jump into all that seriousness, what would you send to hell, Janet?
So there's two things. Can I send
Okay,
two things? Okay. So the
sure.
first one
Certainly.
is the first one would be Olive Garden. And these are
Whoa.
the reasons. I know, it could be a little controversial. However, there's something about Olive Garden, and it's not even necessarily the food, but it's just it's the whole package. And so that's like the running joke with my husband Chad and I is, and he'll say, "Oh, let's go to Olive Garden." I'm like, "No, I do not like Olive Garden at all. I don't like the chairs. I don't like the smell. I don't like the carpet. I don't like the way I walk in there. I just don't like Olive Garden at all. There's nothing about it." So Olive Garden's my first one. And then my second one is overpriced parking.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Yeah. We just, this past Sunday, we went out to lunch and there's parking everywhere, but we decided to just park in this little parking lot because it was the closest. And when we came out, we were in there for a pretty short period of time. But when we came out, it was like $9, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? But it was the principle that we went in there. There was nobody in the parking lot. There was parking everywhere that was free parking. And so I had like this visceral reaction to it. And Chad knows whenever we go somewhere, I'm always looking for the free place to park because I just have a thing about overpriced parking. So those are my two things.
Yeah. No, very fair. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the worst was if you had to pay overpriced parking at an Olive Garden. That would just be your
That
personal
would
That
hell.
be the worst.
At least they have free parking generally, right?
Well,
that is
still
her.
not enough to pull it out. Sorry.
That's her Dante's Inferno over there.
Right. Yep. Olive Garden and overpriced parking.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my mom found it was either glass or it was a finger of a glove in her salad
Oh my
at an
God.
Olive Garden.
There's your proof right there.
Or both. I know some
Wait,
crazy
wait.
stuff landed in her salad one time. This was like 20 years ago or
The
more.
finger of a glove.
That is
Yeah.
so gross.
Yes. You'll have to ask her, Kelly. It's
There's too many questions
disgusting.
with that one. Okay.
I know.
See, there's the proof right there.
Yeah.
Don't go to Olive Garden.
Disgusting.
I think we could spend
Okay.
a lot of time here, so we need to move on quickly.
Right.
I know. Now that we've all lost our appetite for Italian food, let's keep going. Okay, so Janet, tell us a little bit just about yourself, where you're at in life, what your background is. We want to know who Janet is.
All right. So when you say background, what do you mean specifically? Like what does that mean?
Like, where were you born and raised?
Oh, okay.
Kind of just basic stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Keep it shallow.
Okay. So I was actually, I grew up in Southern California, and I was there for most of my life, except for the first 6 months, which I was actually born in Houston, Texas. But I grew up in California and stayed out there till 2017. And then 2017 moved out here to Michigan, and we've been here ever since. And so when we came out here, we've been mostly all on West Michigan. However, we came out here so funny story. The first time I ever visited West Michigan was for Art Prize, actually. And that was back in like 2013. And we actually have some really good friends that he grew up in California. So we met them in California, but she actually grew up in Hudsonville. And so we came out here and went to Art Prize, and then we had some other friends out here as well. But the first time we came out here, I'd never been to the Midwest. And so when we were driving around, I fell in love with Easttown. And I told Chad, if we ever move out here, which I never thought we would in a million years back then, but I said, if we ever move out here, I want to be in Easttown. And so when we actually moved out here, the first place we were in was actually in Easttown. So that was really kind of cool. And then we went down to Holland for a season, and then now we're in Byron Center. So we've been here for about a little over 2 years.
All around. So for people who don't know, what is Art Prize?
Oh my gosh. Okay. If you don't know, you need to get out from under a rock. No, I'm kidding. So Art Prize is, I think it's like the biggest art exhibit like in the country, from what my understanding is. So it's basically throughout all of Grand Rapids, and it's really cool because when it first started out, it was a lot of, it started from really the community that, and local families like the DeVos family and whatnot. But they wanted art in the city. And so it's where the art is displayed can be in public buildings, in restaurants, in, libraries, obviously museums. But it is literally everywhere, inside, outside, and you can come and walk for days and still not see everything. So it's just a really cool thing that the city does every year.
So worth traveling for sure.
Worth traveling for. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And now you live here. You get to go every year.
And now we live here. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. So I guess I don't know what my question is. So from your background, now thinking about like how God has shown up for you, tell us a little bit about like when you actually met the Lord, and like how that also like plays into your story too.
Okay, so we're gonna jump in now.
Okay, we can jump in. Let's go for it.
We're jumping in.
Okay,
so
buckle in the seatbelt.
Yeah, buckle in because it's a ride.
Kelly's ready.
So I didn't get saved until much later in life. I didn't get saved until 2013. And so I grew up, I did, my family did not go to church. It wasn't like that at all. So when I was little, so my biological parents, they divorced when I was really young. They divorced I think before I was even in preschool. And so I have two biological brothers that are a little bit older than me. And basically, and my mom is full-blooded Japanese. So her and my dad had met when they were both in Japan and then came out to the States. And so when she came out here, I mean, she barely could speak English. And both of my brothers were actually born in Japan. And so when they divorced, she was an immigrant that could barely speak the language, but now she had to raise three kids because my dad just was not the greatest dad in the world. And so, it's funny because I remember my dad I have pretty vivid memories of him. But when I was probably about 3 or 4, I didn't see him anymore at all. And so my mom, was taking care of three kids. And then there was a really close family that kind of took us in and just always they actually knew my dad. So they knew me since I was practically born. And so they just kind of always watched us, and my mom working all the time. And so they always brought me and my brothers over, and we just kind of got engrafted into their family. And so they had two boys also. And so a little bit of a side note. So they knew my dad. But when I turned about 19, well, I'll tell that a little bit later because there's a little bit more to the story than that. So when I was in 5th grade, my two brothers had graduated high school already. And so it was just me and my mom. And I'm probably going to get a little bit emotional talking, just so you know.
That's okay. It happens.
Okay. So when my two brothers went to high school or graduated high school, it was just me and my mom. And at that time, my mom was just she just had a lot of challenges, right? And so when I was in 5th grade, I ended up moving in with the family that had been real close to us, and they actually became my legal guardians. And so I got engrafted into their family completely. Still saw my mom, but she didn't raise me though. And and so anyway, it was a German family. And so the German family that I lived with, I was like their daughter to them, and lived with them all the way through high school and everything. But I remember I was like 19, and I was talking to my foster mom, my legal guardian, my foster mom. And she asked me one day if I remembered my dad. And I go, yeah, I totally remember him. And I was just saying like all of these things about him, and they were all like very accurate, nothing bad, like really good memories about him. And she was completely blown away that I remembered all of this. And I even told her, I said, yeah, I even remember when like he took me and my cousin, and we flew to Texas to go visit family. And she was like, I can't believe you remember that. And I said, oh yeah. And I remember going on the airplane. I remember going out to dinner, and, my cousin was with me. And she just kind of looked at me, and she was like, okay, I need to tell you some things. And so she said, well, that trip did happen. And she said, but that wasn't your cousin that was with you. That was actually your dad's 18-year-old girlfriend. And I'm like, okay, I didn't realize that. And she said, not only that, he was planning to leave the country with me. So he had like a fake passport and everything. And they were stopping in Texas to see his family before they were going to leave the country.
Oh,
And
no.
so when we were there, and again, very fond memories for me, right? But the girlfriend ended up she freaked out, it got scared. And so she ended up, I think, getting a hold of the authorities or whatever. And so when my dad came out of like a store or whatever, they came, and I don't know what happened after that. I have no recollection. But what I do remember is flying back home, but I don't remember the flight. But I remember walking into the house, and I told my foster mom, I just remember coming in, and there was a big party for me. Like everybody was really excited, and they were having a big party. And she's like, okay, that wasn't a party. That was like the FBI and everybody at your house. waiting for you to come through the door. And I was like,
Wild.
how did I not know all this for the first 19 years of my life? I thought the whole time I went on a little trip with my cousin, and then we came home and surprise, everybody was happy and we had this party. And I had no idea that my dad was trying to kidnap me and leave the country with his 18-year-old girlfriend for me to never see my mom again. So that was like that's like one story, right? I'm not going to tell a bunch of stories, but that's like one story of something from my childhood where I'm like, I did not see that one coming
Yeah.
at
Wait, how
all.
old were you when that happened?
When that happened, oh gosh, maybe 4. I wasn't in school
Little.
yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a long time ago. So anyways, that just kind of paints out a little bit like what my mom's life was with my dad, right? He just wasn't the greatest guy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I'm 19, and it's interesting because some not great things went on with my mom either, but that's like a whole nother piece. But I just remember, I think there was a lot that went on in my life as a kid that I think like God protected me in, because I don't have a recollection. However, it's interesting because I remember everybody always saying, like the adults around me always saying, wow, like you're so good. Like you're okay. Like you're okay in spite of everything. Like you're okay. Like I did really well in school, had great grades, played sports and everything. And everybody around me always told me I'm okay. But I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm okay. But like inside of me, it didn't feel okay though. But I didn't know that. I thought, oh, I guess this is what okay is. And so anyways, as we, I grow up and, I ended up getting pregnant with my first son and got married shortly thereafter. And, right after I had my son, Ryan, I got a call from my biological dad out of the blue. Like, and by then I was, I think, was like 20 or whatever. And he called, and just, it was the weirdest thing because I didn't know, like I didn't have a stable mom, but then I didn't have a dad at all. So I didn't have negative feelings towards him, because remember, like I was okay. So I didn't have negative feelings towards him, but I also didn't understand what a relationship would be either, And so he had called, and he just like wanted to be my dad again. And I just remember saying to him, like, you must be dying, because there would be no other reason for you to call me. And it turns out that was what was happening. We never really reconnected, because I didn't know how. I didn't know how to do that. And um, so anyway, so kind of progressed through life. I have a second child, and then was married for quite a number of years, and we ended up divorcing. And but like kind of looking back on life, one of the things I had to realize, and I didn't realize until much later, was I just did not know how to be in relationships. I had no idea at all. And because again, this whole belief of like I'm okay, but internally I wasn't, but I didn't know I wasn't. So there was a lot of self-sabotage that was happening throughout those years, because I just didn't know how to connect things internally. And so I remember, like, looking back throughout all that time, I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of people that were close to me. But interestingly enough, like when I look back, I think people were very close to me, but I wasn't close to them at all. I knew how. I was very, very good at this. I was really good at telling people, giving them enough to where they felt like they were close to me, or that they had a really close connection. But in actuality, they had none of me at all, like nothing, because I just didn't know how to really be in a relationship at all. And so, here going through divorce and whatnot and looking at that and thinking, gosh, like I just did not know how to do life or relationship at all. Um, and so anyways, a couple of years go by. I meet Chad, who I'm married to now, and we get into a relationship, and we have we love each other so much. Like we have a great relationship. However, we both came into our relationship completely broken. And so the first probably 7 years of our marriage, there were great moments, but there was also a lot of heartache too, because neither one of us knew how to be in relationship at all, like not one bit. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn off my phone.
You're good.
It just rang right in the middle. I feel like I'm kind of jumping everywhere.
We're tracking.
We're tracking. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
And so moving up to, this was like right at about 2011. I was, again, had this frame of I'm okay, right? Everybody's always told me I'm okay, and I'm such a strong person. And that was like a quality that people would always point out to me. Like I'm this strong woman and I'm independent and all of these things. And I wore that like a badge. Like, yeah, I am strong. I don't need anybody. And I can do it all on my own. And that's not a good recipe for relationship, right? If there's no room for anybody. I remember when Chad and I, when we first met, one of the things that he was attracted to with me was that I was so strong. And then when we got married and now we're doing life together, the thing that he really did not like about me was he would say, "You're so strong, you don't need me for anything." And so again, this whole filter of like, I'm okay, I'm strong, I don't need anybody, I got this. And so anyway, so we get to a point in our relationship where Chad had started his own business, and you're going to remember this part, the dairy, where the dairy comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts a business and he rents an office. Well, then we expand, and then we opened up another office. But with this office came like a big warehouse in the back. And in this warehouse, he didn't need any of it. So he said, you can do whatever you want with it. And it fed into something that was really important for me, that I always wanted a spot where like a creative spot where creatives could come together. And I would always describe it that it's like this safe place where there could be music and people just feel safe and free in there. And when we first got the warehouse, I was back there the very first day. And back then, I was really into more the new agey side of life. It was everything like nature and, the universe and all of that. And, and that was kind of the circle I ran with. And so I was back in the warehouse the very first day, and I was putting some things together. And as I was sitting there, I heard a voice, and it said, there's going to be a church back here one day. And I thought that was like really weird. And so I thought, okay, that the universe must be talking to me. But so I started having this conversation, and I said, oh, a church, huh? And back then I was not a fan of Christians at all. I thought they were super hypocritical, and I just thought I just didn't wanted nothing to do with them at all. Super judgy and everything. And so I just started having this conversation, and I said, oh, there's going to be a church back here. Well, yeah. So if there's going to be a church back here, then there has to be art and music, and people have to feel safe and free. And that's not what church is at all. So whatever. And I got up and I walked over into Chad's office. I said, the weirdest thing just happened. And I told him what happened. And he was like, huh, that was weird, because it was just super weird. And so didn't think anything more of it. And then, so fast forward. So anyway, so it was called the Dairy, and there's a whole story behind why it's called the Dairy, but we won't get into that today. That'll be for another podcast now.
Okay.
And so for like 2 years, a community was kind of growing in the dairy, and it was all creatives. Like we had entrepreneurs that would come in. We would have fire spinners and DJs. Like it was just a really cool little spot. And so in 2013, Chad hired a pastor that had just moved from Michigan with his family. Him and a few families had come out from West Michigan to Southern California to actually plant a church. And so when he got hired on, we just kind of started talking to him, and he was just, him and his wife, we met his wife and his kids, and they were nothing. Like when they said that they were Christians, I thought that can't be, because you're like totally normal and funny and full of life and amazing. And I've never met a Christian like that. So it just twisted my brain big time. And just the more we got to know them, the more I don't know, I just like a curiosity started to grow in me. And so I remember there was a moment where Carl is the pastor, and Carl said to me one day, he said, "You realize that God speaks to you through everything." And I was like, "What? I've never heard that before." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "He speaks to us through everything, even art." And I have never heard anybody say anything like that at all. And, but in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, like that, like it just, I don't know. It just was piquing my curiosity. And so I just started to ask questions, and I wanted to know more. And so it was interesting because we were never invited. Like, if somebody starts to ask questions that's not a believer yet, like your natural thing is, oh, you should come to church with us. You should come on a Sunday. Well, they never invited us to church. And I think they knew that that probably would have been a big turnoff for me, that I probably would have never gone. And so I would just start asking a lot of questions, and but it was always like I've never heard somebody talk about Jesus and love, and and the heart of who Jesus is. I had never heard anybody talk about Christianity in that way. It's always been like, again, the lens of like super judgy and critical and everything. And I think because of just kind of in areas how I had lived my life, I had already felt judged anyways. And just, like you carry shame and guilt over things that you've done in life. And so, but I'd never heard the love of Jesus, like ever. And, and so through that, I wanted to be a part of that. Like I wanted to know more. Like I wanted to feel what this family was feeling, because they were so full of joy. And it wasn't like happy, like there was something so different about them. I just had never experienced anything like that before. And so, I said, okay, like, I think like I want to do this, And so we were in the dairy, and which that was a really special place for me. And it was, back then I would have said that was like it was a safe place for me. But I knew like, that's like, I want to be in the dairy when this change happens, And so, I gave my life to the Lord. And in that moment, like I knew, I knew everything in my life was going to be different. Like I knew instantly that that was going to be the thing that was going to be so life-changing for me. Like it was a complete 180. And it was so that, like, when I look back at that time, it was so beautiful, and it was so pure and like so special. And And I just knew instantly, oh my gosh, like Jesus loves me. Like he loves me. And I just wanted to just walk that journey out. And interestingly enough, within probably, I don't know, I'd say a few weeks, I don't remember exactly what the timeline was, the church that they had been meeting at in a different area, that they were meeting in their house in their living room. Well, they had outgrown it. And within weeks, the church had moved into the dairy. And it was exactly, and I realized, oh my gosh, that whole time that was God speaking to me. And like he spoke to me even when like I didn't even like him, but he spoke to me, and like he just like he wanted like my dreams to be like, he wanted me to see like how he works, you know. And so the church came into the building, and it was exactly what like he told me 2 years before that, that there was going to be music, worship, right? And there was safety and freedom, and we had prophetic art that would be in there, and it was just more than I could have ever in my own imagination ever imagined what it could be like. And so that was like my first, yeah, that would like that season was just so incredibly special for me. um and it was interesting because the friends that were around us, like none of them were saved. But they knew, because they knew that something was different, because they could see the difference in even like in mine and Chad's marriage. Like they're like, listen, we know you guys have gone through a lot, and we've seen the messiness of it, and there has to be a God, because there's no way that you guys could have such a different marriage today. I mean, it was like we were unrecognizable. It was that radically different. Of course, there's a lot we had to work out, right? But like
Yeah.
like who we were, just like it was just different though. And so remember Rania? Do you remember
Yes.
Rania?
Oh
Of
yeah,
course
of
you do.
course. Uh-huh.
So Rania is my best friend in the whole wide world. Rania, you got to listen to us. Hey, love you.
We'll send it to
Um,
her.
yeah. And so, anyway, so when I got saved, the first thing she said to me was, I want to know who this Jesus is, because he literally just stole my best friend. She was so angry and upset because she thought I've lost her, like I've lost her to all the crazies. Um, and so she started reading the Bible because she wanted to see who stole her best friend.
That is wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
What?
well, she was so upset that, but, and we had a talk, because she would call me, and she was reading the Bible more than I was back then, and I was the one that got saved. And so she would call me like every day, and she's all, have you read this yet? And oh, do you know that your God did it? Like she would just tell me all these things. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten there yet. But I did say to her though, I said, listen, I said, I need to figure this out for myself, because this is so different. Um, and so I asked her, like, respectfully, can you just kind of let me journey this out kind of uninterrupted, right? Like, obviously our friendship is there, but like, I just didn't want anybody to interfere, like me getting to know God. And
Yeah.
she was super respectful. She's like, absolutely. Because in her mind, she's all, oh yeah, she's going to find out for herself, and she'll come running back again. And so, so anyway, so I was just kind of journeying along with that. And I actually invited her and her family to my baptism. And again, she's just like, it's going to happen. I know she's going to come back to me. And so remember Baptism Beach down in Corona
Mm-hmm.
del Mar? So
Yeah.
that's where I got baptized. And so we go down there, and my best friend and her family are there. And she literally, she's all, let's go walk on the beach. This is before I got baptized. And so we're walking down the beach, and she's like, okay, Janet, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this.
Why is she
Like,
all of a sudden the little devil on your shoulder? Just like, what?
she's all, you don't have to do this. She goes, as a matter of fact, my car is parked right in the parking lot there, and you don't even have to say anything. Just look at me and I will take you to my car right now and we will drive away.
This is like the second attempt of kidnapping for you.
Second attempt. Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so
It's
funny.
full circle for you right there.
Full circle moment right there. Wait, I've
Yeah.
done this before. And so like, I'm like, no. And then this is super funny. And I know we're a little off topic right now, but these
It's
are
okay.
like fun. These are funny moments for me though. Cause like that time was super special. Like I can just remember all the little details. And then she says, okay, Janet, before you go in the water, get every cuss word out of you. Every word you want to say it down.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, best friend right there.
She was looking out for you, clearly.
No, she was looking out for me in a big way. And so anyway, so I do end up getting water baptized. I didn't go in the car with her or anything. And but the cool thing is learning this later on is that was a very pivotal moment for her. Because when I got baptized and when I came up from the water, something happened with her. And it was a moment where she was like, oh my gosh, this could be real. And so I was so glad that she was there. But anyways, all that to say this is within, I don't even know what the time frame was, but like our circle of friends all got saved. And we all got to be in church life together. It was just, I look back at that time and I'm so thankful that was my introduction to Jesus, was how much he loves us. And yeah, just how much he loves us. And so when I look at all of that, I didn't realize how much I felt before that, how unloved I felt for a majority of my life. I did not ever feel like I was truly loved until I got saved. And so I don't know what else you want me to say. I feel like I'm trailing off right now.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So that was my salvation right there.
Wow. Yeah.
The long version.
That is one of the most epic things I've ever heard. That like your whole friend group
Isn't
got
that
saved
wild?
together. That is so awesome that you all went through that together. Like, I just love it.
Yeah.
I love everything about that.
Well, and
That's
it's
so
funny because
cute.
it was almost like a motley crew too, because none of us knew, like, we knew nothing. We knew absolutely nothing, but we're just kind of, I don't know. There was just like, it was just okay, like, no, it wasn't scary. It wasn't anything. It was just like this beautiful mess, I guess you'd call it, It was just, yeah, I just think, man, like God is so good. He's so good.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a lot.
I know.
I think, oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I'm just curious. How long ago was that?
That was in July of 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
right. You did say that.
How many years is that? 13, 23.
Like 13 years?
13.
12.
Oh my gosh.
12
years. Yeah. I'm like the 14, 15, 16. Yeah. 12 years ago. Wow. And it seems like it was yesterday.
What about Chad? When did he get saved before or after you? When did that happen?
So, well, Chad has a completely different story. And yeah, I mean, it's his story to share, but he actually grew up in the church. But he grew up a Southern Baptist, and so completely different upbringing. And yeah, he's got a pretty interesting life story as well. So it was funny. Well, not funny, but it was interesting because he grew up where it wasn't about relationship. It wasn't about the love of Jesus. It was something a little bit different. And so when we were first kind of walking everything out together, because, and again, this is his story to tell, but when during that time, his journey was completely different, because for me, I didn't have a backdrop. Like, I didn't have a backdrop of like a horrible church experience, or or this happening or that happening. Like, I didn't have a backdrop at all. So for
Mhm.
me, it was, oh gosh, okay, Jesus loves me, and I feel him, and I know it's real. And so, oh, if the Bible says this, then, oh, okay, then that's what it is. Like, there's no backdrop or nothing to have to unwind
Mhm.
from, like, upbringing, or again, like, life experience or whatever. It was just, oh, it says this, so that's what it is. It's just like really straightforward and simple. It was very simple. um where for Chad, it was a little bit different, where he had to kind of walk through kind of unwinding some things. And so, yeah, but again, that's for him to tell. But
Mhm.
yeah, so so we were together but not together, if that makes sense, during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I look at this, I think there was some very, very defining moments during that season. And two in particular, those are the two that I wanted to share. Is all that to get to this point is, the first one is when, looking back, like, I was, again, remember, I was like this strong, independent woman. Well, when that didn't help our marriage at all, right? And so when when I got saved, well, we started discipleship right away. And so we were being discipled by Carl and Mandy, and they were just pouring into us. They were pouring into our marriage, pouring into, the biggest thing, like my identity, because everything was just completely different. And I remember realizing that, uh I needed to make some major changes as a wife for us to have a really thriving marriage. And so that was tough. That part was tough for me, because that meant I had to let go of everything that I've known for a good portion of my life. Like, I was very self-sustaining, right? I could, if I needed to have anything done, I was just going to do it on my own. And there's no room for Jesus in that, right?
Mhm.
And there's no room for a husband either. And so I remember going, okay, God, like, I need help in this. I don't even know where to begin. Like, I have a good example in Mandy, because she's an amazing wife to her husband. But that part was a little scary for me, because I thought, I don't know what this looks like at all. And and I remember one night in particular, like, I woke up from a dead sleep, and I woke up, I sat up in my bed, and I just remembered hearing the words, "You are your husband's wife." And in that moment, it was like God came in and, like, he switched something around in me. So he like pulled out, like, the ego and the pride in in me as a wife, and he replaced it with something completely different. And I just remember, like, I got up the next morning, and, like, I was sobbing. Like, everything in me was completely different. And I remember calling Carl, because he was our pastor, and I just said, "You're not going to believe what happened." And it was so impactful. And I just remember, like, I was sobbing as I was saying this. I said, "God said I'm my husband's wife." And I go, "Do you even know what that means?" And he was like, "Yes, I do." Yes, I know what it means. um, but it wasn't enough words to even describe how he rewired me. And like I went to bed and I was one way, and I woke up the next morning and it was completely different. Not that I knew what to do with it. That's a whole nother journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But something was different though. And so kind of, going through and having to learn what is all of this now. But it was like the light was off and then the light turned on and everything was different. And so just navigating through and learning, okay, what does this mean now? That
Was
was a
there
moment. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, look, was there something that triggered that? Like, was it just one night this happened, or had there been like some wrestling things out with God leading up to that culminated
Well,
in that happening?
yeah. So during that time, yeah. So during that time, Chad was being discipled on what it is to be like his identity and then what it is to be a husband. I'm being discipled in my identity and what it is to be a wife. And there were some major shifts that were happening in him. And I didn't quite understand it. And it was interesting because it brought a lot of peace in our relationship. However, the sucky part about all of that is when your spouse is like really like being transformed like right before your eyes, then but what that means is now at some point it's got to be your turn.
Yeah,
That's the sucky part.
you got to do the work too.
Yeah, that's not fun
Uh,
because it was so much easier to be in a place where you're prideful and you've got a lot of ego and you can just say, "Oh, it's all your fault. I'm not doing anything wrong."
that's
That's
right.
way easier, you know what I mean? And so there came a point where like things were changing and the way my attitude and kind of how I carried myself, like it just wasn't okay anymore. And not that Chad would like, not it would be it wasn't like about me, but he would just say for himself, like he would say things like, "I'm sorry, but like that's not acceptable anymore. Like that's not acceptable to treat me, your husband, in that way. Like I don't accept that anymore." And I thought, well, now this isn't fun because
Mm-hmm.
it really meant that like I had to really like I had to consider like what was going on with me. Like, yeah, it just it wasn't that I didn't like that part. I didn't like it.
Yeah, the
And so
refining.
yeah,
Oof.
I didn't like that. And so I would imagine that the prideful side of me was kind of like, no, I'm not doing this. But internally, my heart's desire was I did want to be different. And one thing that I will say is I think that God is so kind and he's such a gentleman towards us. Like he doesn't come through and like rip us to shreds, but like he'll make all the changes, but like he doesn't like I don't know. I just think about like a surgeon. Like a surgeon doesn't come in and just rip you open. Like they're very skilled in what they do, and like they slice you open, everything's neat and it gets put back like very neatly and organized and tidy. And that I just feel like that's how God works too. And so he was just so kind to me, and so he was just so gentle through those things because I think he knew in my heart like I really wanted to be different. And so thank goodness, like he has grace and mercy for us, and he could see past my ego and my pride. Um, and so maybe he did like all the surgical stuff that night or something. And then I
Mm-hmm.
woke up and like it was just different. But it was a process to get there though. It didn't blindside me or oh my gosh, like how did that happen? It was, oh my gosh, like this is God working. And it was a very tangible way that like it was it was a process, but he was swift in the moment too, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a picture of like God's mercy in the way that at the end of the day, he's kind of the one that has to do things. Like
Yeah.
you walk things out and you submit to the Lord and you do your part, but at the end of the day, like he's the one that has to like he's the heart surgeon. He's the
Right.
one that has to flip that switch.
Yep.
Like you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
it's not something you can strive for or
Right.
perfect in your own strength at all.
Well, and and also is when you are transformed in that way, there's still a walking out in all of that. It's not like I got up and went, oh my gosh, everything's perfect now. And yay, I'm like this soft hearted, nice person. And no, like now there's like, before it was like almost like an external conflict between husband and wife. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now it's almost like it turns into almost like an internal piece where, okay, I've got this new thing going on, and I don't even know. I always get this picture, and it cracks me up because I'm not even a Star Wars fan, but I always get this picture there's a scene in Star Wars where I guess I don't know who the guy is, the main guy or whatever, but he gets the what's it called? The thing, the saber
A
Lightsaber.
thing,
lightsaber?
the lightsaber. He gets that, and it like comes out for the first time, and now like all of a sudden he's like, I don't know what to do with this, and he's just like wielding it, but he has no idea the power of it or like how to even maneuver anything. So it's just going everywhere. And I always get that same picture when I think about like God transforms us and he makes us new in areas, but then we have to like walk it out and understand and learn how to operate in it and know what it looks like and how to
Yeah.
carry it and what to do with it and like the
Mm-hmm.
the impact or the power that it has. And if you're not careful, even though it's this beautiful thing, you could like slice a person in half by accident with it. You know what I mean? Because
It
you don't know what to
happens.
do with it, right?
Does
Yeah.
happen to the
And
best of
so
us, truly.
and so I always get that picture because I think like he transformed me in that area, but I still had to like trust him in the process of even knowing what does this mean now and what do I do with it. um yeah, so the lightsaber.
Yeah. That's good. Now you know what it actually is. Next time you need to
Yes.
reference it, it's a lightsaber.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lightsaber. Thank you.
Oh, that's a good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, Kelly, go ahead.
Oh, I'm curious. This is going way off topic. So if you had something more on topic, we can go there first. But
No.
um just I want to know, okay, so growing up with a complicated relationship with your father and then even with your mom, some complication there. What did that mean to you coming to know
Hmm.
the Lord as his child? Did that take some time? Is it still something that's taking time? Yeah, just I want to know about that.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me that because that is definitely a big piece of the puzzle for sure. Um, it was, yeah. So learning that I have a heavenly father and he's my dad, like that is something that took a little bit of getting used to be honest with you. Um, I had to learn what that even meant because I didn't understand relationship. And so I had to learn like what does that even mean? Like I I I, I believe it and I know it to be true. However, it's the process of learning like what does that mean though? And what does it even feel like? What does it feel like to be loved so deeply just for you and not for anything else other than he loves me because me, and that was very, very foreign. I think Well, that leads into my second part is the identity, like learning my identity, that was a really big deal because, growing up, like my mom, there's stuff that had happened in her life that she never talked about her upbringing. She never talked about her childhood, her family, nothing like that. And so I she's passed on now. But to this day, I don't even know. I knew she had sisters. I couldn't even tell you. I know nothing about my family history at all. And then my dad wasn't around, and so I don't know my family history really. I've got little bits and pieces here and there. But I don't like I couldn't say, "Oh, I have 5 aunts and 6 uncles." I genuinely have no idea. And so when I got saved and then learning that, like when I'm reading in the Bible, like that is like that's my lineage now. Like that was a really big deal for me, is to realize, oh my gosh, like I have my foster family, and they are an incredible family, and I am close to them. Um, but there was a lot of disconnect for me growing up, not because of them, but because of me, because I didn't know how to do relationship. And so even with as much love as they had for me, I always felt like an outsider because I wasn't their bloodline. And so here now, I'm grafted into a bloodline, and I have history, and I have, like, I can look and go, oh my gosh, like I am part of something. Like I'm part of something. Like, and I'm not the beginning of it. I'm not the end of it. Like I slip right in, and there's like I'm part of it. And so that was like a really big deal for me to um to say, like, this is my lineage now. Like I do have, like I'm engrafted in, and I am part of something. Like when we look at like the family tree, I'm on a little tiny branch somewhere, and I know I am in the natural, but like there's something about knowing that, like, this is something, like, nobody can cut the branch off, nobody can shake it away, nobody can like ignore it. Like it's just, it's there, and it's there forever, and it's always there. And it was there before me, it'll be there after me. And so that was a really big deal for me. And I remember reading through Psalm 139. I remember when, because now we're part of a church community, and we were asked, like, okay, like, really, like, what's your favorite verse? And I thought, I have no idea. But as I was reading through, like, of course you come to Psalm 139, and I wrote it down because I knew we would come to this. But there's the part in Psalm 139, it was 139:13, where it says, "For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb." When I read that, like, that completely rocked my world. Um, for a couple things, is that for most of my life, and I didn't realize how much I was carrying this, but for most of my life, I think I was really, um, I was hurt. I was I was I was sad about my mom because we just did not have a great relationship. And we weren't like mad at each other, but we just didn't have a relationship together, even though we spent time together as an adult and whatnot. Um, and so I always kind of had a little bit of an attitude that, like, I was angry with her. And to read that verse meant that God specifically placed me with her, and he decided that she was my mom. He chose her for me, and he chose me for her. And that shattered a hurt that I was carrying inside of me, because when I read that, it was, okay, this was by design. It wasn't like I wasn't an accident. I wasn't a mistake. I wasn't any of those things. Like, God said that this is where he's placing me. And so it changed that whole perspective for me. And it really put me in a place of like where I can really like thank my mom for having me and then also for just really looking back and realizing she did like the best that she could with the tools that she had, right? And so yeah, so looking at that and realizing like he had given me identity even before I even knew that he even knew who I was. Like I didn't know that he knew me, but all along he's known me. And so that was like that's a really big deal for me. Like really big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that well, it's like thinking thinking back to like not only was he speaking to you in the dairy before you even knew him, it like goes back
Yeah.
even further. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a I don't know, it's like one of my favorite things to hear when people tell their testimonies is the the lens that that puts over your life when you're
Yeah.
looking back on it and realizing like how Jesus was with you every single step of the way. It's pretty
He's been
amazing.
with us every step of the way. Like
Hmm.
every step. It blows my mind. I was thinking about that, like when I knew that we were going to be chatting, and I was just recalling like there was some very like definitive moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was God. Like that would like he was there, like he had my back, and I had no clue. And that was just the moment that like I could look back and recognize, but of course like my whole life, like even like I don't recognize a lot of things, but he's been there the whole time, and that is mind blowing.
Hmm.
It is mind blowing to even realize that.
Yeah. And just so comforting knowing that. And from here on out, like how much more so is he just carrying us in the middle
Yeah.
of all the crazy we're going to face too? It's just
Yeah,
like very helpful.
very
Yeah.
hopeful
Very
for sure.
beautiful. Hmm.
Yeah.
So that all happened 12 years ago, we determined. So, so from, but
So
that,
year 13. No, I'm
right.
kidding.
So you've lived a lot of life since
Mhm.
then. What's been like the biggest thing that you've seen God teach you or even change in your life, like over this journey for you over the
Yeah.
past couple years?
So, oh gosh. I think the biggest thing is like really, really knowing my identity. Um, we've gone through life, and I've got two biological kids, and then I have a stepson, and then stepson is married. I've got grandbabies, and when I look at that, like the biggest thing has been like, what is my legacy? Like that has been something that's really like been on my heart for a minute now. And I think, oh my gosh, like part of our family is saved. The rest, it's going to happen. And but when I look at the biggest thing is the that they're being presented with something different that I didn't grow up with. And so they have a mom who is completely in love with the Lord. And like that's something that I can share with them. I can show them who God is in my interactions with them, in my um just my interactions with them. Like that's something that like I get to pass on, and hopeful that like everybody is saved before the end of my lifetime here on earth. I really want to be able to witness that. And so I think that has been, I think the biggest thing is knowing that I can play a small part in my future and my children, of them experiencing the heart of Jesus through their mom.
Yeah, I love that. Like I think it's so
Yeah.
beautiful that the when I ask you like what's the biggest thing God has taught you, you just start talking about everyone else, like your whole family, like the amount of love that's there, and it's like obvious the blood, sweat, and tears I'm sure you've experienced in your prayer closet and like your time just like bringing that before God. I don't know. There's just, a lot of faith.
And it's so beautiful too to see that that's your heart, like that's what you're excited about, because that is God's very heart. Like he since the beginning of creation just wanted family, and it's so beautiful to see how the extent he's willing to go to transform a family. And he can use any life to do that, and it's beautiful to see that he's using your life to do that. And it's just cool you share that heart now. Like his heart is yours, in that he desires everyone coming after you to know him. It's just that's awesome.
Oh, love it.
And it kind of goes back to like even like the father wound that was there, but like now you have the father's heart like in you, like that. I think that is being so purely expressed through you. Like it's like full circle, like that he brought that healing, and now there's like a completely pure expression of like the father's heart towards your family as the mother. I think that's just cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay, God.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Janet.
Amen.
Yeah. Man. So if you were going to sum everything up, what do you feel like? You took us on a wild ride, first of all.
I know. Oh my
Kelly,
gosh.
are you okay?
There were a few parts that kind of really shocked my whole body.
The 2 attempted kidnappings.
Yeah, I immediately was
I'm
like,
tell Rania that. That's super funny.
Yes. No, I literally, I'll message her. I will send this to her, Janet. I will.
Except for, okay, the best thing about the second attempted kidnapping is that there was an actual party for you on that beach.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. It was real. It wasn't the FBI.
Yeah.
We really were celebrating.
Funny. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we made it.
Yay.
We made it. Yes. But I lost my own train of thought. We're going on a lot of different tangents here. But I think what I was trying to ask you was, through all of that, do you feel like there's one specific thing that God really transformed, or like this is the thing that, I feel like my life is a living testimony for? Or besides just like the love of Jesus and how beautifully you were introduced to that, and like the power that came with that transformed all your friends. Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you.
That's okay. You don't have to.
I don't know. I mean, I know, but like I feel like I don't know what the words are, to be honest with you.
That makes sense, because you do so well with just more like a paintbrush and a canvas, that I feel like if we could just give that to you, then we would have it.
It'd be so much easier.
It would. Yep. But yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's hard to translate feelings like that into words.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'm sure he sent so much, because he does send so much for all of us back to hell where it belongs. Yes. But I think one thing that's really clear in your story is just how much he sent relational dysfunction back to hell where it belongs. Like, it just sounds like there's been so much reconciliation. Like, even you've been reconciled to yourself, and then your husband to the Father, and both of you to God and to one another, and then your whole friend group. I don't know. That's just awesome to me, how many relationships have been restored through this all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just hopeful for anyone who's praying for their friend groups, or good, like just we all have those people on our prayer list, that just weigh on your heart year after year after year. And so I think it's good. It's that verse that says like the testimony of Jesus Christ is the spirit of prophecy. Like when you hear it in someone else's life, it just gives you so much hope that that God will do it again,
Yeah.
So,
well, and I will say this, I think like really like living in the freedom, knowing that God loves us. Like, we can't even fathom how much he loves us. And there's so much freedom in that we can literally face anything, go through anything, and he's there. He's got us. And I just think for all of us as believers to really live in that freedom, like that's the thing that I witnessed, and it changed me. Like it drew me in. And I was so the opposite of that beforehand. And it's not Bible thumping, right? It's not like shoving it down somebody's throat, but it really is living in, like really living it out loud and living with confidence, knowing that we carry the love of Jesus in us. And because that's what people, they don't even know that they're drawn to it. You know what I mean? They have no idea. And again, that was how I was drawn in, was just through his love. And that was it. Um, and so I think like if we can all just really like be bold in that area and know, like with confidence, this is who I am. This is who I am through Christ. This is how, the outpouring of who he is that comes through me. We are going to witness like that. And that, I think this is the biggest thing is, and Rania, my friend, and I say this all the time, is like, we want the best seat in the house to witness a miracle. And so we want to make sure that, like, we want front and center. We want to watch somebody be saved. We want witness, like we want to witness God at work, and we want the best seat in the house. And so we have to have that outpouring of who he is to get the best seat in the house. That's I don't know, like that. I feel like that's our ticket in, is just to get the best seat in the house, to be able to witness him at work.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything, Janet.
Thank you.
For
Thank you, Janet.
getting vulnerable, taking us on a journey. It's been amazing.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, you guys are awesome. I love that you're doing this. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I
And
love
you
that you
guys
get
are
to be a
amazing
part of
too.
it. Thank you.
Yay.
All right. And you know who else is amazing? Our listeners. So thank you to our listeners for hanging in there,
listeners.
sticking with it. And we will catch you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.